Hamas and Israel have reached a deal for a ceasefire in Gaza. At a news conference in Doha, Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani said the ceasefire will take effect on Sunday, the 19th of January, and this includes the release of hostages held during the 15 months of war. A 6-week initial ceasefire phase includes the gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces from central Gaza and the return of displaced Palestinians to northern Gaza.
It gives us great pleasure in Qatar, Egypt, and the United States to announce the success of the joint mediation efforts and the fact that the two belligerents in the Gaza Strip have reached a deal on the prisoner and the hostage swap and announce a ceasefire in the hopes of reaching a permanent ceasefire between the two sides, as well as allowing the access of large quantities of relief aid to the Palestinian brothers in the Gaza Strip.
Now let me take you through what the deal entails. The deal requires 600 truckloads of humanitarian aid to be allowed into Gaza every day of the ceasefire. 50 of them carrying fuel, with 300 of the trucks allocated to the north. Hamas will release 33 Israeli hostages, including all women and children, soldiers and civilians, and men over 50. Hamas will also release female hostages under the age of 19 first, followed by men over 50. Then Israel will release 30 Palestinian detainees for every civilian hostages and 50 Palestinian detainees for every Israeli female soldier Hamas releases. Israel further will release all Palestinian women and children under age 19 detained since October 7, 2023, by the end of the first phase. And the total number of Palestinians released will depend on the hostages released. And this could be between 990 and 1,650 Palestinian detainees, including men, women, and children. Hamas will further release the hostages over a 6-week period, with at least 3 hostages released each week, and the remainder of the 33 before the end of the period. All living hostages will be released first, followed by the remains of the dead hostages. Negotiations over the second phase of the agreement will begin by the 16th day of Phase 1, and is expected to include the release of all remaining hostages, including Israeli male soldiers, a permanent ceasefire, and a complete withdrawal of Israeli soldiers. Now, after the first and the second phase, there's a third phase. This phase is expected to include the return of all remaining dead bodies and the start of Gaza's reconstruction. The reconstruction will be supervised by Egypt, Qatar, and the United Nations. Now, despite the breakthrough and the whole happiness concerning the ceasefire, sadly, Israeli airstrikes continued on Wednesday evening in Gaza and killed at least 33 people. Now, one unanswered question. After the reconciliation, after the ceasefire, the question is, who will run Gaza after